I think this is a movie that had a 1 in 5 chance of getting made.
The last incarnation before this, it was a completely different cast, and we had to shut down 2 weeks before shooting.
I even thought the first day of shooting, oh, this just isn't going to happen. We decided, since it was an ensemble cast, that we would pick the mother first.
I said to Tom, what's your fantasy of this movie in terms of casting?
You know, he asked me who in your dreams would be sort of Sybil, the cornerstone of the piece, and there was Diane, who I've revered forever.
And I said, you know, if you were lucky enough to get Diane, everything else would fall in place.
There's no way. It's Diane Keaton. Come on. So, I mean, what she could be, slumming with me, right?
We were able to cast up other roles because Diane is a magnet for other actors.
And Sarah was the next person we went to.
It was the casting that saved us.
What's so great about you guys?
Nothing. It's just that we're all we've got.
You don't have to be nervous.
I'm not.
Yeah, they're all watching, you know.
The concept is a guy brings home a girl to meet his family and they hate her.
Ready?
What I don't understand is what he sees in her.
Diane and Craig had raised 5 children into adulthood in this one location.
And this family has a lot of order to it, a lot of pecking order, a lot of kind of complicated relationships.
You know, these are all really accomplished people.
Very tolerant and very progressive and being really intolerant and really judgmental and really mean.
Love is a fierce emotion, and it gets in the way sometimes.
She just doesn't feel comfortable.
Well, why should she be comfortable? Putting Amy out of her room and all. What?
They hate me.
Tom Bazooka, the writer-director, had tried to put the movie together on 3 different occasions with independent money, and he had different casts from the one that wound up in the movie. And at each step along the way, he almost got there, and the project fell apart.
As it turned out, the financiers actually didn't have the money they had claimed to. So, you know, Hollywood heartbreak story.
The last time it fell apart, I sort of stumbled upon the script, and I said, what's the story? And he said, the story is I'm about to give up because I can't seem to get the movie made.
It's so silly.
We went to Diane Keaton, and she was the first person to come on board. And we were absolutely thrilled when she said yes.
Oh, come on, give me a break. You stick a silver spoon up any monkey's butt, it's bound to go please and thank you. Like, big deal.
And then we went after Sarah Jessica Parker.
It was radically different than anything I'd ever played.
The combination of the 2 of them was a real draw for all the other talent in the piece.
No, please. Don't trouble yourself. You're the guest. Oh, honey, thank you. No, please, no. I'll take it.
Oh.
Just relax, honey. Please.
Wash my hands.
The movie would not have gotten made if Diane hadn't committed, if Sarah Jessica hadn't committed, if we hadn't then gotten Rachel and Luke and Dermot and Claire.
You've got a lot of big fat personalities in a room.
Finally, you reach a point where there's so many talented people that the studio can't ignore it. 20th Century Fox said, this is a studio movie. This isn't an independent movie. And we said, thank you.
Hey, I want you to meet Meredith.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
It was very smart of Tom to try to get us together socially. Like, you know, let's have dinner. It was a very nice way to enter a movie. Usually it's sort of like a dinner.
I knew sort of the success of it hinged on whether you believe them as a family or not. These disparate actors, and we had, you know, the opportunity to rehearse for a week, which is pretty unusual.
He forced us to rehearse. I hate rehearsal.
It was important to have a week of rehearsal so the family could begin to feel like a family.
Your tie's crooked.
What's really funny is we only rehearsed for 4 days, but you talk to some of them, oh, we rehearsed for 2 weeks, or, you know, oh, we only had a day. It depends on who you talk to.
It was good that he put us all together and had us rehearse together and do stuff like play charades, and we'd kind of have meals together.
I had them play charades, which is a scene in the script. And it was great because they could act without having to perform. Dermot Mulroney, do not be on a team opposite him in charades, because he'll kick your ass.
4 words.
Second
word.
Beekeeper.
Ring.
Bride.
Always a bridesmaid, never a bride.
They really fell in love with each other in a very kind of like intense way. Not only love, but also they fought like a family, they bickered with each other.
I don't
care whether you like me or not.
Oh, of course you do.
Sarah Jessica plays Meredith, who has not learned how to express her own deep self, and she isn't so comfortable in her skin.
And Diane certainly kept Sarah Jessica on her toes.
Hello. You have a lovely home.
All the better to entertain you, my dear.
Sarah Jessica would sort of walk away from set saying, I'd like to believe she's in character.
Because Sarah Jessica has an intense need to be liked.
They had a lot of fun with Sarah Jessica. Sarah Jessica is the most loving, lovable actor I've ever met. And they ostracized her. They gave her a hard time. They're sort of staying a little bit in character.
You're the worst! I'm the worst!
That's family. As catty or aggressive as they are with each other, there's no doubt that they love each other.
I'm sorry. I would sign, but I don't know the language.
The biggest challenge was, frankly, I had a hard time with signing.
It was really important to the whole integrity of the movie to feel that, they do have a deaf son, and it's part of their lives.
I didn't know what the hell I was doing. It took me a long time to learn. I'm a slow learner.
You see Diane signing with her son, then hopefully 15 minutes into the film, you don't even see it anymore.
I did something so wrong, and they were going like, oh no, she's ruined the scene.
If she struggled with it, I never saw.
I was supposed to sign, okay, and I think I signed...
Grandma signed something really, really bad.
Yeah, that's my girl.
Slow steady.
She may like to think she stunk, but she was doing just fine.
Action!
After as long as it had taken to get this project off the ground, to finally, after years, be sitting at a table with our family was one of the most moving experiences of my life.
Uh-oh.
We got lucky in a million different ways.
People on the crew were coming and they would rub the top of my head for luck. It was sort of funny.
I've never seen a happier set. We love this job, we love this script, and we love this filmmaker, and it was our collective desire to make his dream come true.
So shaky.
And if the casting hadn't fallen in place, we wouldn't be sitting here today, and people wouldn't have this movie to watch.
Hi, I'm Tava Smiley for Fox Movie Channel, and we are here at the world premiere of The Family Stone, written and directed by Tom Bazooka. This is Mr. Bazooka's first major studio picture, and just look at the ensemble of actors he was able to attract. Like to work with a writer-director with a singular vision for the movie?
It's always a better experience, of course, obviously. I mean, having worked with Woody and now, obviously with Tom and somebody who writes and Nancy Myers and that, it makes a complete difference, always.
I've done 5 movies in a row, actually, that were all writer-directors. Not because I particularly sought that out, but there's this incredible advantage where the writer knows the characters, knows the people, knows the story, and it somehow gathers momentum in a different way because everyone feels confident in the fact that there's one brain instead of this handoff to director, which is always so awkward. It's a great thing.
It's a tough job to be a director and a writer at the same time. You have to be open to other people's perspectives. But the best thing about both the writer and the director is have more flexibility, tweaking the story. And you have the vision thing right down.
What is the advantage to being the writer-director and working with the writer-director and being the same person on a film?
You can fire the writer, and which is often necessary. And and also when you're privileged enough to work with people like Sarah Jessica and Diane and Craig T. They bring their game. You want to be able to respond in the moment, and so we were able to shift some stuff around.
But
it's
having
just,
said that,
yeah, it's just fun.
it
It's
was
just, yeah.
very unusual. I've never been on a movie or a television show where not one actor asked for one line change. Am I right?
It was just me asking all the time.
It was unbelievable. I mean, that's a very normal part of the routine of, figuring out the script. But also another advantage of having the director be the writer is that you're constantly going to the point of reference. You're constantly going to the source material. And he was uniquely gifted for this job. He really is. He knows what every different actor needs on a set, what's helpful, what's not, how to talk to actors, which is a real gift.
She's the greatest.
Is there an advantage to working with someone who is not only the writer but also the director?
Oh, in this case, definitely. Tom Bazooka put this script together and was just impeccable and shot it in a way where it all came together perfectly. I mean, it's just one of these where I never had any doubt that that's how it would go, just because I met him and our personalities lined up, but he did such a great job.
It can also go the other way too, but in this case it was extraordinary. Tom his vision it actually was manifested, and that was allowed to happen. There wasn't an interference there. So you knew that given the script that he wrote, which was excellent, that if that vision got transferred and he had the ability to do it, and was given the freedom to do it, then you were going to have something extraordinary.
Did the cast contribute their own ideas to bring the Family Stone to life?
He allowed us to play, and that's what's really unique about him. A lot of times when you work with a director that's written the script, they're they hold on very tightly to their material. Tom was open to new ideas. If we had better ideas or ideas that he thought might push the script in uncharted territory, he was open to it. That's the thing about Tom. He always was willing to buy the best idea. Always. I think that's the sign of a good director.
Tom is the most completely free, he just didn't care, he would let you experiment and try things. He wasn't precious about it, he didn't have ownership of it, but yet it was so in him, that it made everything so much better.
You have all these creative elements on the set, and you're sort of doing yourself a disservice if you don't play. And so,
It's very collaborative, but there wasn't a lot of messing around with the words. It was more about creating environment.
Yeah, and I think the really important thing is sort of to trying to capture the moment. And so you really have to be in the present and willing to forego the plan and respond in the moment.
Were you able to bring your own contributions to the film?
Well, in a way, I come from a family of 5 children, and we're all adults now, so I had a lot to bring to from my experience to this film, I think, sure. And then I met Luke and Rachel and all them, and we just all got to be friends, and it lined up like a family somehow.
It felt very familial, everybody on the set. Was that real?
For me, it was. Yeah. And
oh yeah, that kind of verbal abuse and the making fun of each other,
tweaking,
and it was an incredible experience. I mean, this is a group of people who actually really liked each other and voluntarily spent their off-camera time together as well, and that's just amazing.
In 35 years, I've done 2 movies that had a cast that just somehow meshed to the point where it was quite extraordinary. You don't get that.
Lunch together every day, and I've never had that experience, over a 4-month period with a 10-person cast. You kind of get sick of each other. That wasn't the case here. I made some lifelong connections, some real friendships, and I'm still in touch with several of the cast members.
And watching them work was so phenomenal. I mean, they are some really good people here.
That's it from the world premiere of The Family Stone. For Fox Movie Channel, I'm Tava Smiley. We'll see you next time.
Sarah, I'd like to start with you. What drew you to the character of Meredith other than her affinity for designer shoes?
I thought that Tom had written a beautiful script and a beautiful story about family, and I thought that specifically the role of Meredith was just completely terrifying and challenging, and I thought that she was a wonderful wreck of a human being, and therefore kind of tender, and actually I liked her. And I think what's
exceptional about this script, not just my part obviously, but everybody's, is that they are very human. They're complicated people who are real and, you know, are demonstrative in different ways, and I think Tom did such a nice job of creating real people rather than just archetypes, you know, of this sort of evil, severe woman who's cold and withholding, and then this sort of heroic man. I think people are more complicated in this story, and as an actor, it's certainly more interesting to play.
I, too, was very moved by the script and was immediately engaged with it when I started reading it. So, yeah, I mean, I think we all felt very safe within the structure of the material, and so we just had to, you know, figure out how to play it as honestly as possible, and either the joke would carry or, you know, the emotion would carry. I don't know.
Rachel, you have this amazing sense of humor. How does that help you in securing this kind of role?
Oh, I feel like I have to say something funny now. And I'm not going to.
Just laugh.
I've spent all day with Luke.
I've kind of worn out my welcome. I said we were spending Christmas in Yellowstone, and it kind of went downhill from there. I am sorry about that.
It's okay. I forgive you. I was really excited about Amy. I just thought she was so complicated. You know, even you know, if she doesn't have a huge part, she's very complex, and it's just nice to be able to fade into the background a little and take some risks.
It must have been a great treat for all of you to work with Diane Keaton.
Well, first in being a new actor to film, had, you know, preconceptions of what it's like to act for film, you know, as opposed to the stage. With the stage, where you can change every night. But what Diane showed me was that every take was like a different night on stage. It's always something different. She would have all these little choices in a bag right here, and she just throw it out.
She had a bag.
You wouldn't expect that. It's totally, yeah. It's very stylish.
Not like Sarah Jessica. She brought her stuff to the set in a plastic sack every day. You know, you'd think she'd have some Prada or something, but no, it's in the newspaper.
Ralph's back.
Yeah, that's right.
It's true.
It was.
I'm frugal.
Now, did you guys film this all in New England, or was it part of it on set?
We did 2 weeks in New York during 2 snowstorms. That scene that he does with Craig Nelson on the
bleachers.
On the bleachers was getting high on the bleachers was a driving blizzard. You know, the film camera never picks up as much snow.
You
as
really
it really
felt
is.
the vibe from the crew, like, get it right. Get it right.
And of course, at the end of the movie, where they're making snow out of cornstarch, I think it was, you can see it all.
It was such a driving snowstorm in New York that Craig and I had to take the train back. And when we got out at Penn Station, it was like, you know, just coming down everywhere. Like, people were kind of screaming, like newspapers were swirling, and Craig wanted to wait in the taxi line. I was like, no, I know the way, come on, let's go. And then it was like into thin air. I got disoriented. I was like, Craig, I'm lost. I'm sorry, I'm lost. So we huddled in a doorway, and then I was trying to like make up for it. I was like, you could bet they'd have had a car for Diane Keaton, man. And he was like, I know. And then I saw a policeman, and I was like, I'm gonna go up, see if he recognizes me. Maybe he'll take us uptown. And I went over and I got up close, and I was like, how you doing? He was like, kind of looked at me. I was like, Craig, he doesn't recognize me. Give it a try. And Craig, to his credit, went over and very nicely knocked on the door. I was like, how you doing? And then the guy just kind of looked at him too, so we walked home that day.
Beautiful story. The sign language is so eloquent. I learned this just learning it. But the sign for Christmas is that, because it's sort of the top of the wreath, right?
Right.
And Craig, he kind of like is carving it out.
Mango.
You know, it's even in the movie. And so
Totally
when you're shooting, they had
mango.
all these signs that were like, you know, this, and Tom would say, you know, maybe just say this one and get rid of the But they left 1 or 2 in, and it's such crap. You see it, it's like, You're just not really wired for it. I thought Diane, on the other hand, had the most
Unbelievable.
beautiful
Diane.
hands and just the beauty of her speech, which we began to understand that was nonverbal. Just her hands are
I was
incredible.
kind of having trouble with it.
Luke
I was
was bad,
kinda- I was
too.
kind of having trouble with it too, but Craig was worse than I was. So I was like, hey, Craig, how's it going with the sign language? And he was like, almost put my fucking eye out practicing in the trailer.
I think for the most part we were, behaved a little slightly older than juveniles. What did you say?
Slightly older.
No, I think that
Late adolescent.
late adolescent. No, I think there were a couple of occasions that I seem to recall with Luke specifically. In the car when we were supposed to be sleeping.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Well, I didn't get along with the little kid.
It was bad. It was bad.
We really went head to head. And I'd always say, I'm gonna send you off to your tutor if you don't act nice to me.
No matter what happened, though, Luke somehow always ended up with the
On his lap.
Always.
And at one point, I looked over fairly deep into the shooting, and Tom had asked her to put a barrette in his hair. And I thought, this has got to be the last straw.
Well, once the film opens, we hope the film has tremendous success, and we're going to tell all of our friends to repeat the sounding joy that you hear after the film. Ladies and gentlemen, the cast of The Family Stone. Take the bow off, folks.